Recorded on the 26th of February 2016 in Newsaville, Queensland, Australia.
All right. So now's the time to have a bit of a Q&A about our previous session. So is it Tony? Thank you. Microphones are all coming your way.
AJ, when I was 25, I had 3 abortions within about a 5-month period. And lately I've been looking into my complete lack of will in that situation, because I'd come home from the hospital or surgery. And my boyfriend that I was living with, in order to stop my grief, he would not accede to the normal period. You know, you had to leave a certain amount of time before you made love again. And he would do it to try and shut me down.
Right.
And so... And then I still didn't even have any will. After the 3rd one, a friend had to make arrangements to pick me up from the hospital. And she kept me hidden in her house for 2 days, and then she put me on a plane back east so that he would never find me again.
Right.
So why did I have such a complete lack of will?
Well, firstly, can I say there's no such thing as a complete lack of will?
But I was like a thing. I wasn't even a person. And
yes, but you were actually exercising your will.
Yes, that's true.
So firstly, we need to make sure that we understand that even when we completely allow our will to be overtaken by another, we are exercising our soul-based will. And this is something that you're not appreciating in your question. So this is an indication there's issues of responsibility, that you are not taking responsibility here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, so that's the first thing I need to say to you. Firstly, you need to learn to take responsibility.
Thank you.
Whenever you give over your will to another, it is your will's choice to do so. That's something that you're responsible for doing. You follow? Now, it's even with the friend who actually withdrew you from the situation and sent you home, you gave your will to her.
Yes.
So you did it to both. You did it both to the boyfriend and to her. But who made the choice to have the abortions?
Me.
You did. And so you can't say that the choice to have the abortion was driven by other people's will. You follow me?
No, but I don't understand why I just turned into this. I understand what you're saying, and
well, I haven't got there yet. So I haven't finished my, I haven't finished my answer. You exercised your will to avoid taking responsibility for the decisions you were making. That's how you exercised your will. Now, the question you need to ask yourself is, why did I do that? And even in the question you've asked me, you are still avoiding taking responsibility for how you're deciding to use your will. You gave your will to other people in this situation, but also you did take the action of aborting 3 children, right? Which was a personal decision. Now that personal decision was driven by a number of factors which you've got to find. And I won't go into them here because I want to have a lot of questions, and we could spend the whole, 50 minutes on this one question. But you need to desire to discover why you even allowed yourself to have the abortion, firstly. You need to allow, because that's the most severe decision you made in that choice. So the number one thing is that you affected the will of 3 other people. That's number one. That's the biggest thing you've got to face, and you're not facing it at this stage, because you believe the sequence of events happened because you really didn't have a defined sense of your own will. But actually the sequence of events happened because you had a defined sense of your will to abort 3 children, and you could have chosen differently, right? Now, there's justifications as to why you abort 3 children. You need to examine those, but you haven't even touched examining those yet. You haven't even wanted to examine those because you're too busy blaming your boyfriend, right, at the time. So that's the first thing I need you to be aware of. Secondly, is that you were obviously taught to give your will over to people. And you still have a tendency to do it, right? Yep, so it's not a healed...
Panderer to women.
Yeah, you pander to people, do what people want you to do. Now, there's reasons why you do that. And you call that giving up your will. But I actually call it exercising your will to do what other people want. Right? And there's reasons why you do that need to also be examined.
My mother told me that I was abused by my grandfather, but I've never known whether it was true, and I've just been assuming that my lack of will is related to that early lack of will, but I don't know whether it's true, so I don't know. You know, I spent years, I thought, feeling into it, and you say I haven't felt my emotions, so I've been in self-deception that all those years. So how can you feel your emotions about something when you don't know whether it's true? You know how you said before?
It doesn't matter if it's true. To feel your emotions, it doesn't matter if it's true. What matters is what do you feel. Allow the feelings to flow and you'll find out whether it's true. Right? The key with feeling your emotions is, there's two keys to feeling your emotions. What is God's truth, and I am just going to choose to feel my emotions no matter what they are, no matter what they tell me, right? Now, so you know, what I just said is a bit of shock to most of you, right? So let's elucidate a bit further. I've said to you, you will not feel emotions unless you get to know God's truth, not yours, right? So you need to find out God's truth on the matter. So with regard to childhood abuse, what's God's truth? It's wrong. Shouldn't happen. It's a very detrimental or harmful effect upon the child. It's not the child's fault. And there's quite a lot of other things that are God's truth about that particular event. Agreed? Right? Knowing all of that doesn't mean that you've been abused. Okay? Does it? And if you have been abused, there will be inside of you your truth, which is emotional, is it not? So there'll be emotions within inside of you that actually prove that you've been abused. Will there not? If a person been abused, there will always be emotions inside of them that prove they've been abused. Right? That is a fact. Right? You're not going to know whether these emotions prove the truth that you've been abused or not until you feel them. Is that not also true? While you deny them, you are not feeling them, and so therefore you will not know. And most people who've been abused prefer to not know. This is the problem. Right? So in other words, they get told, or somebody tells them that they've been abused or whatever, but they prefer to not know. The trouble with that is that I could tell you that you have been abused when you haven't. And because you prefer to not know, it just is going to depend on other injuries as to whether you accept what I'm saying to you or not. Now that's a problem, isn't it? Because you could believe you've been abused when you haven't, or you could have been abused and then not accept that you have. And both are problems, right? Both have emotional reasons why they are within you. The key is to feel your emotions and release them. So to experience them is how you feel them, isn't it? And then you'll know for certain. Now, how I know you haven't done that is because you still can't tell me for certain. You said, my mother said I've been abused. And that's not the same as you knowing you've been abused. You follow me? So therefore you have not felt these emotions, even though you think you have not felt these emotions yet, because once you've felt these emotions, you would know. You would know whether you've been abused or not. But you know what you want to do? You want to know before you feel. And this is a big problem, right? But I don't understand what that's got to do with the exercise of your will, aside from the fact that you want to know before you feel.
I was just wondering if my will had been destroyed as a child, and that's why I didn't have the will when I was 25. But I can see that.
No, you've been taught as a child to not take responsibility for your will. That is more truthful.
I can see now from what you said.
Can you see in your childhood how that happened? Can you see how both parents would have taken responsibility for your choices and decisions for you? That would then cause you to believe that you don't have to take responsibility for anything. This is what causes you to go back, like to decide to go back and get pregnant again and go back and get pregnant again, but then also to go and have another abortion and go another abortion because you don't want to take responsibility for the previous choice you've made. Yeah. So the real issue from your childhood is you were taught to not take responsibility for your choices.
That doesn't feel true, but thank you very much, because I'll feel into that.
Can I say, Janie, you don't want it to be true. Right at the moment, the feeling in you is that you do not want to take responsibility for your choices. You even the question is demonstrating how you haven't taken responsibility for your choices. Yeah. You know, you've said a number of things. Firstly, that you had 3 abortions, which is proof that you haven't wanted to take responsibility for the choice to have sex even. Yes. Right? Yes, you didn't even see it as a choice.
No, so strange.
Yeah. But so that's, and a person doesn't see something as a choice because they don't want to take responsibility for the fact they're making a choice. You follow?
Yes.
So in that regard, you didn't want to take the choice, but also in regard to your emotions surrounding potential abuse, you've made the choice to not feel them. That's you not wanting to take responsibility for what's happened to you.
Yes.
Not wanting to do something about what's happened to you. That's another choice. So there's already quite a number of things that you're saying in your question which demonstrate that you're unwilling to make a choice that's actually loving, and then there's a temptation to be willing to blame other people for the choices you've made. Yeah. And in fact, you place the responsibility to get away from the man on another person, which is another desire to avoid the exercise of your own will.
She had to take responsibility for me. It was terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's terrible to put other people in that place where they're having to make choices and decisions because you are unwilling to make them yourself.
I think that I've led the most incredibly irresponsible life.
Well, I'm saying to you why, and you've said you don't agree with it, but I've said to you why.
Just my parents, that doesn't feel quite right about my parents.
A person doesn't make irresponsible choices all their life without there being some parental cause. And this is the problem. This is why you're not resolving the actual emotional issue, because you want to believe your parents didn't cause these problems.
Oh, look, I'm happy to lay anything on my parents.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I wonder whether I was...
You're happy to lay anything on your parents because they taught you that they're happy to take anything from you, and you don't see that as the problem.
No,
you're happy to lay other things on it, but you're not happy to see that you don't have a developed will because they taught you to not have one. And you then have chosen after that point in time to not develop one. Yeah. And you've then chosen after that point in time to put the responsibility back on the people around you rather than take responsibility in your personal life.
It's true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And even in your question, you still don't want to take responsibility for the abortions, and you don't want to take responsibility for the fact that you had sex in order to have an abortion.
That's right.
And you don't want to take responsibility for the fact that you chose to not even avoid the situation, and you actually wanted someone else to come along and rescue you. And this is all an indication that your view of love is that other people will make your choices for you, and other people will then rescue you from the choices you've made, and that's their demonstration of love to you.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's not. While the lady was loving to you by getting you out of the situation, at the end of the day, you weren't loving to her by forcing her to do it.
No.
You follow me?
No.
But you wanted her to do it so that somebody would demonstrate to you that they loved you. And there's so there's obviously feelings in your childhood where you weren't loved, and that you could avoid responsibility by trying to get other people to love you rather than you having to love yourself. So there's quite a lot of different issues in the issue you raised, but I must point out to you that those questions show you right? That there must be there is a developed use of your will, and the developed use of your will is that other people should take responsibility for my choices.
Yes.
That's the development of your will at this stage. And that's going to have to change if you deal with any of these issues. Does that make sense? Yep. If we come down to Pt3.